I'm always busy and I always have plenty to do. I cannot understand anybody being bored. I am an octogenarian, and I just haven't been able to retire totally yet. Most of my friends have been retired, but I have not. So my husband is manning my verbiage here for me, and we're moving along. In 2020, as you know, was an epic year. Most people did have to learn to adapt and be more patient with life in general. But since we've changed the way we shop, pray, get medical care, work, socialize, and celebrate, we really have had to make changes whether we like to or not. So I have felt really lucky because we live on 5 acres in the Ayton Valley, and I have been able to walk with my friends, and we wore our masks, and we sometimes yelled at one another, but if I walked with them, we could at least have somebody to talk to. And then sometimes I went alone. That was a wonderful time to go out in the desert alone, take the camera, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way to come back to the computer and get on with it. So anyhow, most days for me are spent working at home or at the museum anymore. And I do not believe that I have experienced the adversity that our 4 daughters have. They're professional women, or that any of
I'm watching my mom speak.
because,
Thank you.
They
Tell him.
have challenges every day just to survive.
That's my mom.
And so they were very, very first, but they persevered and they worked their livelihood for times.
Have a great day. Make sure you left it clean.
Retired Washington County teacher and elementary school counselor. I don't know, she had 35 years in. And she graduated from UNR, and she opened her family counseling practice in 2020. And she felt this was a time when people really would probably need her the most. And she jumped right in. She was learning. I guess as no other clients learned, and it still, she said, was important to be flexible and adaptable. Some of my clients were comfortable coming to the office and so I helped them via the telehealth platform that I had never used before. So I learned another way to help clients. I believe telehealth is here to stay. I also kept in mind each client might be dealing with additional stress in their life. So difficult circumstances due to the pandemic. So those were ways she could help her clients more, and she stayed busy. My daughter Sherry, she is a 30-plus year high school teacher and volleyball coach, and she said, I have had to completely change the way I teach. I have had to do it on the fly. We had no time to prepare. In less than a year, I learned the most important way to get through adversity is to be ready for a new day every day. In short, and try to be happy and healthy and ready for anything, and even still spend more personal time with my students, who really appreciate it because my students have been left in the lurch. And the personal contact I've always had with them and other teachers has kind of been lost. So I feel really good when I can do that. So I will be working continually to work with this ever-changing society and do the best I can for my students and the kids I coach, who I love very much. Also, in the last 15 years, our daughter, Dr. Melissa Anita, has operated a successful dental practice in Kona, Hawaii. The pandemic hit her hard. Melissa was forced to lay off 6 key employees. My husband's focused on moving my, I'm sure it doesn't go up, okay. Anyhow, she was, up a little bit, please. Anyhow, she was forced to lay off 6 key employees who were the main income providers for their individual families. She was heartsick, and she too was also forced to take time off. And at last, though, she had the chance to reflect on the business, the family, and finally had time to realize that she had been experiencing major burnout caused by the constant stress of being in charge of everything, and we all know that feeling. Got to do it right. So this forced her to take time off, allowed her to focus on new ways to run her business more efficiently and with less stress. And she never gave up, and I'm happy that Melissa has successfully reopened her dental practice and recently hired another dentist to relieve some of the pressure she was experiencing. She only had to replace one employee and says this employee has become the best dental hygienist she's ever employed. So without the forced changes that came from 2020, she believes she may not have taken the time to reflect on making herself happier and healthier. And last but not least, daughter Nicole, a veteran dental hygienist in Roseville, California, says she learned to focus on self-care that helped her to be a better healthcare provider now. She was one of the ones who said, oh, I can't wear those masks, I can't do that, I can't do the job I would like to do, I did a good job. But anyhow, she has come to grips with this. She says she has more patience, empathy, sympathy, and she even has more concerns with the patients and feeling for them, especially elderly patients like her mom, and to be more flexible, because how do we do our job and it can change daily, so you cannot take anything for granted. Slow down your life and be more flexible and innovative. So in a nutshell, in this lesson, like Eleanor Roosevelt said, a woman is like a teapot. You never know how strong she is until she gets into hot water. And I see that all the time with my friends. So then a new beginning, that's my next lesson, a new beginning awaits today's women in history. Just think. While working on this presentation, I began thinking almost every generation in this nation's history has faced hardships that changed the world. And women were part of the enduring efforts and endurance efforts that made better lives for everybody. And this includes women who settled the Wild West, the Civil War women of the Great Depression, World War I, World War II, and along with survivors of lesser pandemics.
Have them be quiet when they
These
come in,
women's stories
please.
have paved the way for us, for you and me. Create our own history of our own, and that will make us help make better working conditions for women and different types of careers, and there are a lot of them out there waiting for us. Now, getting back to my own personal experiences and how the year panned out for me when it involved the duties of the historian and curator of the Historical Society. For years, the Dayton Accessioning Committee, our museum committee, met weekly at the museum to catalog objects that were donated to us. And then once a month, I met with Nevada's Women's History Project, so we could document the early Native women who pioneered this end of Nevada. And I am a charter member of the original Dayton Historic Society, founded around 1986. And since then, I was one of the founders of the Dayton Museum and on many other local historical committees. I just can't seem to say no. Anyway, I did not get overly involved in community doings until our 6 children were almost raised in the late 1980s. And that's when I kind of said, well, I'm tired of housewifery. So I ventured out into the little world and I learned to see hike. I studied photography, writing, and believe it or not, I learned to use one of the very first Apple computers on the market was an Apple IIe. Oh boy, what a challenge that was. Anyhow, I continued what I learned, gave talks at Dayton schools, lectures at the Nevada Historical Society, and I even went from developing black and white film in dark rooms to using digital cameras. Oh my God, that was awesome. And that was just the beginning of so many cultural and technological changes I've seen in my lifetime. And while the generation before mine went from the horse and buggy to seeing a man land on the moon, due to computers, my generation has seen so many changes. It's unbelievable. I have 7 or 8 electronic devices and trying to learn them all. Oh, what a job. And I want to let everybody know, I was 53 years old when my journalism career began. And this dream of being a journalist started when I was in high school and raised my family, and then I was able to start my career. So it's never too late either. So due to COVID, our museum committees did not meet this year, which I fretted about since we have so many items to accession and other work that needs to be done at the museum. However, before long, I got used to having more time to be alone in the museum or at home to reorganize objects to be accessioned, and best of all, to hike, my very favorite pastime. When I am not researching and writing, I'm hiking. I still feel guilty though. So when my friend Katrina, a qualified Sierra Club hike leader, lined up several hikes for Phyllis on historic trails, I quit feeling guilty that I was not at the museum or at home dreading the filing of the papers. And since I write newspaper columns and a newsletter for the Historical Society, I learned that old timers and newcomers really do like learning the historic details of the Southern descent of Nevada. And our hikes this time included the Sierra Nevada sites like Lake Tahoe, the Truckee River, etc., like off of I-80. So the hikes along with photographs inspired me to do additional research to learn more, and then I could use them in my newspaper columns. So I believe writing about the history in a public forum is a great way to teach our history, and it's more exciting with pictures, and I'll continue to do that. And maybe even better for this hiking group in the 50 to 82 year age range. Most of my group are at 70. It also is great exercise for us in the fresh air that stimulates the mind and the body. So, be sure to try hiking and walking and enjoy the benefits and forget about the COVID as much as possible, because there is another world out there. Anyway, on a hike over a section of the top of the Pyramid Lake Trail, which is another awesome story started by a woman, it begins off of I-80 and it joins the Inland Trail and Old Highway 40. I was thrilled to think that I was walking what Pioneer Women and Children did so many years ago, and about the diaries and journals written by pioneer women who crossed those trails in the mid-1840s into the 1870s. So not every pioneer in the California trails were gold prospectors. Some were on their way to Sacramento, others to nearby towns, seeking new opportunities and opening new businesses to serve the thousands of people pouring into there. The Historical Society actually also presents living histories to the fourth grade Nevada history students. I portrayed Lucina Parsons, who spent her honeymoon crossing the U.S. in a wagon in 1850-51, and she kept a daily diary. And believe it or not, she was one of our first historians. She has pointed out history from her diary that actually happened right near Dayton, and she I think we moved anyway. So she was an amazing woman. When she got to the foot of just on the other side of Genoa on the trail, she got so homesick that she wanted to go back, but she knew she couldn't. She knew she couldn't tell her husband to turn around and go back 2,000 miles. So she got over it. I feel she was depressed, but she got over it. The wagon trains left her. They had to make it on their own. So off they went up over the Sierra. They settled in Sacramento. Her husband formed a lumber business. She raised 5 children, lived to be in her early 80s, accomplished so much in her community. And so we follow the pioneers and create our own history. We can't go wrong. So I just want to thank you very much for listening to me.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Laura. That was great, and so much history to share there. I know Laura could have was showing restraint when she didn't tell us all about the different historical stories that she explores every day. But thank you. That was really nice to have a personal perspective and a historical perspective.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody? We're gonna take some questions if we have any, but otherwise we'll jump right into the next goal-setting exercise. Feel free to unmute if you want to ask either Lindsay or Laura a question.